Welcome in. It's Talkin Badgers, and we got a packed show for you tonight. If you've been paying attention to the pulse of the Wisconsin football program lately, there's a lot of excitement in the air, and I've got the Badger Notes After Dark crew with me to dive deep into why Badger fans should be hopeful for the 2024 season. Let's not waste the blessing here, folks. If you're here, you're not just a casual observer. You're part of this twisted little community we've built. So go ahead and share the show with a friend or two, because we got plenty of good stuff coming your way. And make sure to stick around, because later on tonight, we're going to be giving away tickets to the season opener, and you'll have to find out how to enter. On tonight's show, we're going to be starting with the quarterback competition. It's one of the biggest talking points of the offseason for the Badgers, and tonight we're going to break down what separated Tyler Van Dyke from Braedyn Locke in just a few minutes. Then we're going to get into the running back room, a position that's always been the heart and soul of the Wisconsin football team. This year's no different. But here's the thing. The depth is going to play a massive role in how we compete this season. We'll talk about who's stepping up and why this group might be better than it was in 2023. And then we're going to hit on the offensive line depth. And finally, Coop is going to tell us what he thinks he knows about this defense before we discuss the week 1 betting lines. How we doing here, fellas? It's good to be back.
We're
always back. Good to be back. So back.
Ryan, going to tee one up for you here right away. Let's talk quarterback competition. Obviously, I was between transfer quarterback Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami and Braedyn Locke. Tyler Van Dyke was named the starter. Why ultimately do you think that Wisconsin ended up making that decision? And then do you think there will be any long-term implications because of that decision?
No, I think they made that decision because he's clearly the better player. For those that joined Badger Notes After Dark in our previous season, I was a huge Locke stan, thinking he was going to be the next guy. I saw one practice and I was gravely mistaken. Lulu is still good. Braedyn, Tyler Van Dyke is a different kind of animal. Like, seeing him stand next to him, I was thinking to myself, and I mean this respectfully, of course. I saw him standing next to each other in the quarterback line. I said, "Oh, who's Tyler Van Dyke's little brother there? Did he come to practice today?" This cat is enormous, and I think the reason why he's not only the starter is he not only does he bring the leadership, the physicality, the size at the quarterback position. He was hucking this thing in some tight windows, and I was like, okay, that's kind of what he's known for. Like, he's a good man thrower. But what does Miami fans always criticize him for is he can't read his zone. He can't do this. Now, understandably, it was 9-on-7 or 7-on-7 or scripted, and there wasn't a rush, and he's not getting hit. He was eating our defense alive in zone coverage. They kept dropping. They were going cover 3, cover 1, different cloud coverages. And I'm not trying to sound like a brainiac, but it's like you play college football a couple times, you think you're an expert now, especially at the varsity level like I am. But he was eating this apart. They were dropping different guys, like Wooler and other guys were like dropping into zones, and he was picking it apart. I think at one point he was like 10 hit like 10 in a row. And it's like, I understand again that it's not the regular season, and when real bullets are flying, it could be different. But I am so intrigued by what he can bring, because like even when he would pull it down and run, it just looks different. But to the second part of the question, I don't know if it necessarily jeopardizes anything in the future, because I think it all depends on the handling of it and always keeping it a meritocracy. Now, I think kind of what you're alluding to is like with Braedyn Locke's little brother, Landon Locke, in the recruiting class. Is Braedyn not winning it going to be an issue for Landon? But I don't think it is, because not only do they both want to play for Longo in this system, they both understand football is a meritocracy. And as much as Braedyn may be disappointed he didn't win the job, me, just a talking stooge, could see after just one single practice, okay, that just looks a lot different. So I think after the hard feelings kind of go away, they kind of know what it is. And Braedyn still could be a good guy down the line. He could grow and develop more, and his brother could come here. And it'd be cool to see two brothers like the Rucci brothers and the Nelson brothers and all the guys that we have. And what was it? We got a lot of brothers. So I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that Wisconsin gave Braedyn a legitimate chance to win the job. So I think for that, they've remained open throughout the process. I think they were pretty honest about it, gave him a fair shot, and then they ultimately made the announcement. So I don't think you can say that he wasn't given an honest path, towards winning the job.
I think that its potential is like a really big thing in this storyline too. Is like Tyler Van Dyke was pretty good as a freshman, and his size. Like what successes Longo had with quarterbacks. Like we went back to the Ole Miss days. Like he had Jordan Tamu, he had Shea Patterson. Like he had pretty big quarterbacks, and like Tyler Van Dyke fits that mold. Like the Drake May mold, being 6'4", 200 plus pounds. Like he fits that mold. We went back and looked too because we've talked about this a few times in our group chat. Like he hasn't rushed the ball. He didn't run the ball at all at Miami. But that's like an element that I think Wisconsin is going to expose for him quite a bit more. Like I think he's a little more mobile than Braedyn Locke is, and I think he's a lot more mobile than he's shown on film at Miami. And I think that's an element of his game that is going to help propel the offense. And then, like you said, Ryan, the size thing. Like he's just so much bigger than 4 inches may not seem like a lot, but some people tell me that it's a lot. And I think he's gonna be a dog this year. I'm all in. After literally, Ryan, you said it in group chat. You watched one practice and you thought it. I went at 6 to midnight. I'm so excited for Tyler Van Dyke. I'm all in on him. I'm excited to see what he can do when he's protected by a good offensive line and not Miami.
Yeah, I mean, what everyone else said. I think the biggest thing with him is we're gonna see a lot more shots downfield this year. That dude's got a fucking rocket of an arm, so I think that's gonna be a huge thing. Just kind of open up the offense. Other than that, I don't have much to add. Like I said, that's my big thing. Is just I think the deep shots are gonna, and he's not gonna give a fuck if he throws 6 or 7 interceptions on 20+ yard throws. Like he's gonna make those throws, and sometimes you need that in an offense. So I'm excited for it. Love Braedyn Locke. Selfishly, I wanted him to be the guy, but I get it. I mean, Van Dyke, like you guys talked about, prototypical size. Also, we're paying him quite a bit of money. Whether you want to say it or not, that factors in. So, but no, I'm excited.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't happen, but I think we're also I wouldn't doubt that we still see Braedyn Locke at some point in the year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look 10 out of the last 12 seasons, Wisconsin has at some point needed to lean on their backup quarterback to play meaningful snaps. And so I think that, those are the layers to this, right? I mean, Tyler Van Dyke, he's the bigger arm. He's the ceiling raiser. Probably the biggest thing that has stood out to me, as you alluded to, is the fact how much more mobile he is than we thought he would be. I mean, obviously he's transformed his body with Brady Collins the time he's been here. At camp down in Platteville, there was a play where he had like a perfect read. He kept it, it would have been at least a 60-yard run, but it was a scamper where he's going to keep defenses honest. And that's all the more that you could ask for, from your quarterback. So he's the ceiling raiser, the big arm. He's got the experience. He's improved mobility. And, by all accounts, by the way that Luke Fickell and them are talking about him, he's been a good leader since he's gotten here. And so I feel better about Tyler Van Dyke today than I did back in spring.
I mean, yeah, the ceiling is the roof, dude.
I mean, you nailed it on the head. That's pretty much it. So I'd like to move on then and to the running back room where I've got a take, and I want to tell you guys to tell me where I'm wrong. I think that entering the 2024 season that the Badgers running back room is going to be better than it was last year. Now, I'm not suggesting that you shed a guy like Braylon Allen and all of a sudden you're better talent-wise, because I don't think that's exactly what I'm proclaiming here. But I think there is an argument to be made that the Badgers currently have 6 running backs that you could argue are deserving of snaps, or at least like that they could play some kind of role, or you could understand the thought process as to why they would be being worked in. Ches Malusi, what you have with him. He's back. He's healthy. He's confident. He's running well. Yeah. Tawee Walker is someone who, quite frankly, I think might be the team's best running back. I think they're going to take the bulk of the carries. But Jackson Aker is going to play. He's going to be an H-back. He's going to be short yardage. I mean, he's probably their best pass blocking back. You have two freshmen in Dylan Jones, Darian Dupree, who worked their way up the depth chart. They're not redshirting. They're too talented, and in today's portal era, I don't think you can afford to sit them. I think the guy who gets the short end of the stick is going to be Cade Giacomelli, although I think he has looked the part at the very least. Am I off my rocker in saying that Wisconsin's running back room is better this year? And I'll be honest, I think by a large margin than it was a year ago.
No, I think the skill set we have in the running back room fits the offense a lot better this year. Whereas Allen, like, obviously great player, he's in the NFL. Was he a fourth round, a conditional fourth round draft pick? But yeah, just I think the talent we have fits the scheme better. And like, okay, maybe Allen is technically more talented, better than all of the running backs we have. But for what we're trying to do, like, these are the right guys. Especially, I think Tui Walker is going to be an absolute fucking monster this year. Catch out of the backfield, really going to help with Ches. And I know we said it last year too, but like, you got to limit Ches's carries with his injury history. And Tui Walker is the perfect guy to do it. And he can catch, and not that he's a scat back by any means, but Tui he's gonna put the shoulder down, dude. He's gonna let you know he's there.
Yeah, dude's got like that Doug Martin build. During media availability, standing next to him, dude was just a muscle hamster. Yeah, he's gonna fall forward. That much I know.
And I think the two freshmen could make some big plays, even in just like the receiving game, if they spell one of the running backs on third downs or something like that, or if we get back to our old ways and run some jet sweeps. I think that fits. I think that fits their. I know, Jay. I know.
Do you think Wisconsin gets the opportunity to do that with a Darian Dupree, somebody who has the versatility to move out, into the slot, be a pass catcher? Can they work him in a role like that, where you bring him in on a couple of those jet sweeps, end arounds, just a guy who gives you a little something different?
It would benefit them. Like you have to get your playmakers the ball. That is the grand scheme of an offense. Like. And I know pretty much no notes, 100% agree with what Coop said. Like, scheme matters. Scheme matters 100%. We said last year, maybe it was just me being crazy. Ches was a better fit last year than Braedyn Allen was. That offense was significantly better when Ches was on the field in comparison to when it was only Braedyn Allen. Were they still super dynamic with Braedyn Allen? Absolutely, yeah, they were. But when it was only Braedyn Allen, that was the only option. They weren't as much. Now they have a year under their belts. They've recruited guys who fit this scheme. They know what they want to do, and they got, like you said, Dylan, 6 deep now that can do what they want to do. Not just being power running backs, not just being scat backs. They got guys who can do it all, and it's going to be really exciting to see how they use them. But they need to get them the ball.
I couldn't agree more. And I mean, let's look back to last year. Two of the biggest injuries the Badgers suffered that, in a lot of ways created their season was the loss of Tanner Mordecai, the loss of Ches Malusi. Obviously, there's no way to plan for losing your starting quarterback and one of your top playmakers, but those are two spots that this coaching staff went out, addressed, added depth. And I think, they're in a better spot at quarterback, even if it's still Braedyn Locke as the backup. I think he's come a long way. And then you have a lot of options. If you were to lose somebody again in the running back room, I think you have far more legitimate options that you could turn to, without completely skipping a beat. I think Malusi and Walker are for sure the top two options, but I think there are a lot of other people in this room that can contribute.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right too. Like, if you just look at simple math, 6 is more than 3. We have 6 legitimate options, and I know it's hard to say a freshman who haven't taken a snap that they're a legitimate option, but you see them in fall camp and you say, okay, these cats belong. And I think you look at it last year without Ches, you had a couple games where Braylon was nicked up. Like, you literally only had, 2 scholarship running backs. I mean, I guess we had Nate White on scholarship, but you had 2 scholarship running backs that you could roll out there against Indiana and was it Indiana and Northwestern or Indiana and Illinois? It's either way, it didn't end well. So I think I don't think any of us would argue that any of these pound for pound are better than Braedyn Allen as a football player. But I think what everyone's already said is the scheme issue. It's like, I would take Ches 100 times out of 100 in a Phil Longo air raid, because not only have we seen it, it's like that kind of skill set translates. And then you look at the two that are very much like Ches and Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree. You have the old dog, and now you got the young pups that are cut from the same lineage. Like they know how to run the ball, they know how to run the system. And don't even get me and Coop started on Tyree Walker, the big dog.
Oh, big dog.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in person till Dylan. He is built like a fire hydrant. And every time I see him, I'm just like, how is anyone going to tackle this guy? You watch one-on-one drills, you watch 7-on-7, even in pass protection. This dude has absolutely zero fear. And it's like, that's kind of what we need. Like too often last year, I mean, I guess we could say for the last couple of years, as good as Braylon was, how many times do we say, oh, it just seems like he's indecisive. Like he doesn't know how to pick a hole, or the offensive line isn't creating what he needs. Tywee's a one cut and go. Like if there's a person in the hole, you better buckle up your chin strap, because he's not finding another hole. You and him are going to see whose hole it is. And I think that kind of and I think that kind of like mentality and that physicality from the run backs is going to prove dividends this year. It's like, and then you to the point of last year, when you look at like Cade and Jackson, like those are like the really only times in their career they've had those extended stretches. So the fact that you got guys that have legitimate experience that played at Big Ten football as your number like 4, 5, 6 option, I don't see how you could look at it and say the room is not better.
No, I'm just
from a depth perspective, it just 100% is better.
Yeah,
overall talent ability.
I'm just envisioning Tui Walker now running someone over on like a 2 ISO and being like, "Welcome to my hole."
Meet me in the A gap, big dog.
Like, dude,
this is my hole. Big
don't let my hole
hole,
come and get you, bro.
Hey,
baby.
We'll talk about offensive line later, but if you with Renfro back and Huber up there, you should be able to create some big gaping holes up there in the 2 gap.
Always the smoothest transitions. Why don't we talk a little offensive line? And Jason, going to be throwing this one over to you. A little buy or sell. Should we be buying or selling that the offensive line depth is a problem entering the season?
I would say I buy that. I think we have 5, maybe 6 good guys, and then if we have any injuries, I think that there's a real concern on the offensive line. Like where do we go? It's going to be a lot of young guys that come in that are kind of in that 2-3 deep. That you just don't know what you're going to get. And I think college football, we've all seen, is a different dog than high school football. And expecting an 18-year-old kid or a 19-year-old kid to come in and perform against now what we've seen to be 22, 23-year-old guys.
Men.
And just defensive line is just a whole different dog. Like Brian loves to say, there's levels to this. Like there's levels to the defensive line and the offensive line. You're getting grown men going against high school kids pretty much.
And on top of it, Wisconsin's going to be playing 4 top 10 rated defenses like entering the season. So it's not like, we've talked about this schedule enough. Like it's incredibly difficult, but like we're going to be seeing some elite defenses. So it'd be a big ask, for someone to step back in there.
Absolutely. I think you'd be silly to not be concerned about the depth of the offensive line, because I bet you could count on one hand teams who have started, the same offensive line starts game 1 as the same offensive line that starts, game 12 or 13. Like that just doesn't happen that often in college football and high school football and pro football. So expecting it to happen this year for the Badgers is unlikely. So like everyone should be concerned, obviously.
Yeah, I think that the starting 5 is really good, right? I mean, I think Coop, I already know how you're going to probably feel about Jack Nelson, but I think he's going to have a tremendous year. I think Joe Brunner is probably a large upgrade over what Furtney was as an outgoing guy. Jake Renfro is somebody who they brought in last offseason to be the starting center, and obviously Bordellini had to play an unnatural position, which ironically enough, he might be sticking at in the NFL.
Not drafted, yeah.
But Jake Renfro, looks the part right now. I mean, Joe Huber is probably one of the more versatile guys on the offensive line. and we know what Riley Molman brings. Like, I think those 5 are great. JP Benshaw, definitely going to be your 6th on the interior. Quite frankly, I think almost regardless if an injury occurred, he might be the next man in, and one of the guards might kick out to tackle if that's what it came to. Barrett Nelson missed a lot of the spring, chunk of the fall as well, but he's listed on the 2 deep behind his brother Jack. Kevin Haywood is probably maybe the guy after that, but this is where the transfer portal hurts, right? I mean, you have guys who are capable of probably playing meaningful snaps elsewhere, and that's where they're going to be playing their football this year. And so it's forced the staff to get a lot of freshmen ready in a hurry.
Yeah, I think the depth is going to be paramount for success. Like, the more you test that depth, the worse your season outcome is going to be. And I don't think that has anything to do with the ability of like Kevin Haywood or those guys. But I don't think that the fall off is going to be as much like, yes, true freshmen don't have the experience of a redshirt senior, no doubt. But I think part of it too is like, I've been kind of like workshopping this idea that why don't freshman tackles or freshman offensive line play? Like, yes, you can point to like the strength and conditioning programs, but when you look at like grown men like Kevin Haywood, like I feel like a lot of times if you have the physical size and you have the physicality, I think the thing that slows you down is like the mental side, like knowing protections, knowing slides, knowing all those different things. Because it's like you look at someone that is just as highly rated as Kevin Haywood, and you look at someone like Caden Proctor. He started as a true freshman in the SEC at Alabama. So, I mean, is it few and far between? Yes, but it's not completely unheard of. But I think that kind of lends itself to the first 2 games. I don't know how they're going to want to do it. Like, we'll get into predictions and betting lines and stuff later, but I think there's 2 distinct paths you can go with this season. I think you're either going to have to like platoon guys early in those games and then sacrifice the score a little bit to like get them reps, or you need to ensure a blowout of Western Michigan and South Dakota by the 3rd quarter to get these guys meaningful reps. Because like Jay said, you're not going to get through a season with this 5. Like we love this 5. We think this is a great 5. Yeah, I would put my mortgage payment on this isn't going to be the same 5 at the end of the year. It's just statistically it's not going to happen. So you got to get those guys reps. You don't want Kevin Haywood trying to deal with Alabama edge rushers because somebody gets nicked against South Dakota because they got rolled up on when Tywee just smashes somebody and calls his hole. You know what I mean? So it's like you want to get meaningful reps so they're not forced to go out there with game on the line. Tyler Van Dyke back there, you get him hurt. Now the whole it's cascading failures, as our boy Kid says.
Yeah, you're gonna need a lot of dogs against Alabama, regardless. And obviously, nobody's trying to look forward, look ahead to those games. But like you kind of alluded to it, right? Like they need to have success early against their first 2 games against South Dakota, against Western Michigan, because they need to get guys reps. Like whether that be the 1s, the 2s, it doesn't matter. They need to get a lot of guys reps in those games because they're gonna need a lot of guys on the
when you've got those 4 games to preserve that red shirt. So like
right,
you're 100%
exactly.
right. Like you'd be foolish not to find them some, when applicable. Obviously, Buffalo last year wasn't the blowout that we were hoping, but and we'll get into it. These are the games where you need to execute so that you can make that happen. Because this is also a very veteran offensive line, and there's going to be a lot of spots open next year. So you'd like to see some guys you feel comfortable stepping.
Yeah.
This is probably a conversation for another day. But before Coop goes, do we need to preserve red shirts? I know you had brought that up, and like I said, that could be a conversation for another day. But in 2024, I don't think we should be playing the red shirt game anymore. Because at the end of the day, like if you got dudes like we think with like Kevin Haywood and Xavier Lucas and those guys, they're staying 3 years whether they play this year or not. They're either going to get 2 years of film or 3 years of film. And if that's the program we want to be, I'm not too worried about it. Play them 6 games if they need to, because I don't know. Coop, what do you think?
I mean, with the transfer portal, like it doesn't really matter, does it? Like
every season's got it. You got to treat every season like it's your last.
You're re-recruiting your roster every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
So see what you got.
I mean, as far as the O-line depth, I mean, I love our first five. I think Haywood would start on a lot of other teams not named the Wisconsin Badgers.
Agreed.
Say what you will about Jack Nelson, not his biggest fan after last season, but a lot of pedigree. I mean, he's an NFL prospect. I think Malman's a very, very underrated right tackle. Maybe mid-late round right now, NFL prospect. So you got Haywood at 6'8", 325 as a freshman, sitting behind those two, who was a preseason All-American for the freshman, I believe, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, so I absolutely love that. I get Ben Schwall, but if one of the tackles gets hurt, I mean, obviously Haywood's the next guy. So to me, he's our sixth best lineman right now. And he might even be better than that, but we just won't get to see it because of who's ahead of him. But no, I love our line for this year. Renfro, I think, is going to be great. Obviously, we kind of missed out on him last year. It's just, and Dylan kind of alluded to it, like the starters in our line this year, senior, sophomore, senior, redshirt, junior. Like, we got a lot of veterans.
With a good season, Malman could go too. Like that
exactly.
could be, you could be replacing 4.
So that's what concerns me is, I mean, besides Ben Schwall and Haywood, like, what do we really have on our second team when it comes to offensive line? And I know we got some freshmen who are probably on the third string or might redshirt, who are pretty like high pedigree guys. I know we got some decent recruits coming in, but still, like, you just never know with the offensive line. It's such, for freshmen, it's either you're a grown man or you got to wait a year or two to be a grown man. Like, right. And that's no shade on anyone. That's just, it is what it is. Like, when you look at guys like Travis Frederick, like, who started right away, like, they don't build motherfuckers like that every day, dude.
Nope.
Like, that's a special breed. And so to get guys like that is a very daunting task. So, yeah, maybe the depth for like next year concerns me, but I think our first 7 this year, I'm confident in.
Like to hear the optimism. I probably needed a little bit of that.
Like, if Ben Schwall and Haywood have to play, I'm not concerned. Like, and Haywood, I mean, he's a true freshman. You're gonna have to just take what he can give you. But right. I think he can play good enough if needed as a true freshman, where he's not going to kill us.
All right, that's fair. There's top 10 teams that I have freshmen that need to play on their line this year. So that's fair. That's a good point.
Goop, before we pivot, I want to leave listeners with this. If Jack Nelson comes out of the gates, plays 3 consecutive strong games, one of those coming against Alabama, can he win you back over?
No.
Okay, moving on.
Damn.
I almost spit.
Quick pause here, and we make a lot of jokes on this show, but this one is going to be
that was the one.
We're talking about Kaden's wish, and Kaden is granting life-changing wishes for children battling critical illness, and you can be part of making the difference. So if you can find it in your heart, head on over to cadenswish.org, check them out. Let's help make some dreams come true, and just help out a good cause. All right, we're back. Coop, I'm going to give you the lead once again. What do you think you know about this defense heading into the 2024 season?
What do I think I know about this defense? That their main objective is to hold the other offense to less points than we score every game. That's what I know.
Coop's in midseason form with these analysis.
I'm just like,
it's like Magic Johnson's. It's like Magic Johnson's Twitter account.
Exactly. Those are the things I know right now, Dylan, because I think this is going to be a whole new look defense compared to what we saw last year.
So, what do you think you know about this defense?
That our secondary is going to be fucking awesome.
Confirmed.
I think our linebacker core, the speed we're going to see out of our linebackers is going to be something Badger fans haven't seen in maybe 5-6 years since we've had Yeah, the Borlands, the Watts of the world,
I mean, like that right there. Look at, and this is no shade to Mumajong Meta, who just made a 53-man roster today as a UDFA, but that was someone who ran, a 4.9, and we're replacing that with, a plethora of guys who are probably more like 4.6 range and can move around and play in space. So I think, your point there, like, is very well taken.
One of our new inside linebackers has a neck roll, so.
Yeah, and that matters.
We're just going to throw it out there. Shout out Jaheim Thomas.
That matters.
It does matter.
People are going to absolutely love Jaheim Thomas.
Dude, you want to talk about a guy who wants to play football, just loves the game. He'd do this shit for free, dude.
That moves my needle.
He's got his nose pierced too, so he is a unique fella.
Can play inside. He's gonna play outside.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a guy who's gonna be able to move outside on certain packages and get other, middle linebackers on the field, like Christian Allegro, Tackett Curtis.
and
he can move around and make way for other guys to get some.
We have linebackers wearing single digits. That's all we need to say.
Well, that for him, that's a shame though. I'm a little disappointed though, Jay, because with that neck roll and the last name Thomas,
you can be like in the 50s.
54.
Little 5'4", huh?
Yeah, little Zach Thomas with the neck roll 54 hunting,
but
missed op.
All right, before we get to the D line, which I think is the biggest question, what do you guys think of Curtis and Allegro being second on the depth chart at both inside linebacker spots?
Love it.
Jay,
they're white.
I honestly love it because I think the two of them, after this year, like we have Jake Chaney, we have Jaheim Thomas, they're going to play a ton of snaps. They're going to be really impactful. But those are two guys that are really effing athletic and I think are going to be able to step into those starting roles. I think they're going to play, a 65-35 snap split this year. I think that they're going to be very intentional in rotating these guys and keeping them fresh and deploying them in certain packages. I'm really, really high on that pairing long term.
I think they're both super dynamic, and that's why they're there. Because we saw it already at the end of last year with Allegro. He was spying quarterbacks. Those two dudes are going to come into the game in nickel packages and dime packages. They're going to be in there when they're passing, when they think that they're passing downs. Allegro's going to spy the quarterback. I think that they're super dynamic. They're going to mix it up where I think Thomas is more going to be like a sideline to sideline, traditional downhill linebacker. I think Allegro and Curtis give you something a little bit different and what they need from linebackers who can cover guys and can also still defend the run.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And then, looking down the depth chart here, at outside linebacker, you don't know until the fucking season starts, but obviously expectations for Pius, I think, for every Badger fan are
rock hard
through the roof for this guy. And him, Leon Lowry, and then what do you think? Peterson and Witt are probably up the other guys.
I think Peterson's starting.
Peterson's number one.
Peterson is going to start. Obviously he's going to be more of a run defender, but Lowry and Pius, they're going to bring a lot in the pass rush. And quite frankly, I'm gutted about Thomas Heiberger getting hurt. We've talked about him multiple times on here. Just a kid with freakish tools, and if he wasn't, from a Dakota, he would have been at a bigger school. I'll stand on that. But he's somebody that Coach Matt Mitchell said, was in line to play this season as a true freshman at outside linebacker, and I think that's really notable. They made it clear he's not gone for the year, but really bummed that that's someone we're not going to see. Another player, another young option at linebacker at the outside who I think is super dynamic, really athletic, and someone who's going to be a big piece moving forward. So really bummed that he won't be a part of that rotation, at least initially.
And then as far as the question goes, what do I know about this defense? Our defense line, I think it's going to be a problem, and not in a good way. Thompson Jr. out for the year.
There might be ways to mitigate that though, Coop.
The next four guys, I can't trust them. And then we're going to have to, I mean, Dylan Johnson's going to play, right?
Yep. For
We
sure.
just don't know
I
yet.
think he's going to play.
Don't know
No,
yet.
for sure. Yeah. Fickell said for sure he would be getting
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, that's, if you want to narrow down, like, one thing I know about this defense is that I don't trust our defensive line, and I'm through the roof on basically every other position we have.
Well, can I bring some excitement to your bones?
Absolutely.
You always do.
Like I said, as an expert who watched one practice, I saw him rolling a lot of 2-5-4, which hasn't been something we brought up a lot. We always hear like 2-4-5. But when they get the bigger safeties out there, I mean, it's more of like your run defense. But when they have 2 down linemen and they're kind of like eating up the 2 and the 4 and the 3 and the 5 gaps, the AB gaps, like you're letting these other guys hunt. So when Dylan was saying earlier, like Jaheim would bump outside, when you got like, I mean, it could be like Kurt Neal and the Brandon blanking on his
Lane.
Brandon Lane.
Yeah.
You have those 2 space eaters just eating things, and then you get Jaheim and Allegro and Tackett and Chaney and Pius all on the field at the same time with Wooler and Lofi and Rico and Austin Brown. Like that is a lot of speed, a lot of physicality, and a lot of violence that they could bring. Now, I get what you're saying. Like there's
Like,
no
it's
way.
concerning, dude.
No, it's 100% concerning, but I think having that speed to gap jump and gap bust and do all that stuff, if they can give you something on that 2-5-4, then I think you can buy more rotations because, like you said, with those guys that are going to start, there's only about 5 guys. I think Fickell said he only has like about 5 guys that he trusts now that Thompson's out. So you're going to have to go to a lot of 2-down fronts because if you go 3-4 fronts, 3 or 4-man fronts, your guys are going to be dead by the second half. So you're going to have to supplement.
It's silly to say, but like how they defend the run is going to be how this defense goes. Because like if they can get ahead early, like, and the team has to throw against them, that's when the Badgers defense is going to thrive. But like if a team, if they're locked 0-0 or a team's ahead and they're running the ball, that's going to be like the kryptonite of the Badgers defense is defending the run, which it's obvious to say with that defensive line, but I think if the Badgers can get into situations where they're, third and longs or they're playing with a lead, that's where this defense is going to thrive because the secondary is really good. And I think their pass rushers are going to be really good. It's just defending the run that's going to be concerning for the Badgers.
I know
everybody
completely agree with you, Jay. Like they have so many versatile pieces on the back end. You have like a guy like Hunter Wooler that can move around, did all of last season because you've got a guy like Zachman next to him who this coaching staff trusts completely, earned a starting job in camp. You also have Austin Brown, who is somebody who, is going to be backing up at safety, but is also there too in the nickel. And Max Lofi is somebody who's played a little bit of safety in practice, just in a few looks. And I think those are guys where like you can mask coverages because in a pinch you could ask a lot of different guys to fill into different roles. And I think that's
where Tressel
I think that's
thrives.
super important. Right.
That's where Tressel thrives is hiding his defense, the word's blanking me, but disguise, having to disguise defense, bringing pressure on third and long, like pass rush. I think that's where Tressel is even better. So that's what they need to do.
Right. And it's all going to come back to, and they've said this, we know this. Can we generate a pass rush? Are the guys we went out and got, are they impactful enough? I mean, right there, we just could not apply pressure on the quarterback last year. We in theory have the pieces. Can they get it done?
And I know we got to move on here quick. I just want to say one thing though that I absolutely love. Obviously seeing Big Kev on the 2 deep depth chart to open the season on offense. Another true freshman though on the 2 deep depth chart, Xavier Lucas. Love to see that.
Stud.
Yeah.
Went into Florida and got a 6'2" corner that runs.
I was literally just about to say
low 4.4s.
6'2", 200 pounds.
Yeah, he looks.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
staff already thinks that high of him.
Yeah, Rico said he couldn't believe that the Florida schools let him out of Florida.
So I mean, that's the guy who's going to play this year. When we're talking about guys in offense who are going to rotate in, or the D line, like he's playing this year. Yeah,
100%.
It almost is. It'd be a travesty if he doesn't. I even made the comment after watching the practice that I was like, when I first saw him, because I was like, who is this number 6 over there? I thought like a linebacker. I thought it was like Lowry got his jersey scrunched up, and I'm like, why is he working out with the DBs? This dude is enormous. He looks like an NFL corner right now.
And that's what Fickell does. You look at like Sauce Gardner, like he likes big, long corners. But
I was like, when you put him and Snowden next to each other, and then you stand next to Rico, it makes Rico look. I mean, Rico's not great size anyway, just a great player. But when you look at Snowden and Lucas, you can see what Fickell wants to build. These guys are just they just look like freak shows. Super long arms, wicked fast, and like super tall.
We're so back.
Coop,
We're
any
all the
closing
way
thoughts
back,
on the
baby.
defense? Anything else that you think you know?
no, like I said, I know I was joking a little bit, but like my biggest thing is I'm confident in our defense except our front. And I agree with Jay. Like if we're forced to defend the run, we might be Fanucked, dude.
Yeah, I think the defensive line was the spot where I think they coming out of camp, you felt better that they were going to be fine, but it was a position group that couldn't afford to lose anyone, and they lost.
And then we lose our best defensive
You
lineman.
lost the only player that I think you could look at as a Big Ten honorable mention caliber guy. I think it's devastating.
He's out for the year, right? He tore his pec.
Yep.
He's out as more or less for the year. They don't anticipate having him back. We alluded earlier in the show to a ticket giveaway to the season opener. I'm going to throw it over to Ryan here for more information on that.
Yeah, so thank you for watching our show. Thank you for spending some time with the boys. So in honor of starting a new Talkin Badgers pod powered by Athlon Sports, we're going to give away 2 tickets to the Western Michigan game versus Wisconsin on Friday at 8 p.m. at Camp Randall. If you would like to win, there's only one trivia question you have to answer. You just have to respond to my DMs, which my username is right there on the screen, at Ryan B. Eilers. You just have to hop in there and let me know who was the first player that Wisconsin had that won the Heisman. Not both of them, just who was the first Heisman winner at Wisconsin. First one in there, we'll connect, and then we'll go based on if you're going to take the tickets. But I want them to go to somebody that's actually going to go to the game and root on the Badgers. We'll hope to see you there.
Appreciate that, Ryan. And that's going to bring us to our last segment of the night. I'm going to be tracking the boys' picks as the season goes on so that we can hold ourselves accountable each week more than anything. Or if we all do really bad, then I'll just forget about it and we'll act like this never happened.
Yeah, we make the rules.
I also don't want to ruin our credibility. So, balls firmly in our court. All right.
As the guy who's done this for the last 2.5 years by himself, you make your own rules.
Yeah.
All right. So the Badgers, as of today, Tuesday, August 27th, on Fanduel Sportsbook are going to be opening as 23.5-point favorites. The over/under is currently set at 55.5. Jason, what are your picks? Western Michigan Broncos.
I have the over. I'm on my pessimistic grind, and I think I got Western Michigan plus 23.5.
Yikes.
All right. Coop, where's your head at?
I like the Badgers minus 23.5. And give me the under.
Ryan?
Yeah, so when I heard Jay's voice, I know a hater's voice when I hear it. I'm in lockstep with Coop. I got the Badgers winning 45-6. So give me the Badgers to cover and hit the under.
Yeah, Jay's player hater of the year, dude.
Yeah, I know a hater's voice when I heard one.
I am going to take the under as a whole, but I am going to take the Badgers to cover, and it's mostly
3v1, baby, 3v1.
It mostly just has to do with do I believe that they're going to cover? Historically speaking, probably not. But they've underwhelmed a couple times in a row now in these early season games, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I have the utmost confidence this is a better football team than it was a year ago, and so I think they're going to they'll cover, and I think that the defense more than anything is going to keep Western Michigan, who currently projects as an offense outside of the top 100. I think they're going to keep them off the scoreboard.
And Dylan, I know we got to go. I had one quick thing this week since we have what are we doing here? One thing that just fucked with my mind, and a fun fact for everybody. Did you know Atlanta is west of Detroit?
The more you know.
Don't worry, no.
No, I did not know that.
Come back next week
now you
for
do.
more geography facts with Coop.
Big geography guy. I play global every day. I did.
Fun fact about Coop and I, we were both in AP history for a day. I left. Coop stayed.
I passed that shit. What are you talking about? Yeah.
I was saying we were together in it for one day.
Yeah.
They handed me my second textbook and I handed it back and said I won't be needing that. All right.
I gotta be.
That's going to be a wrap for this episode of Talkin Badgers. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And remember, we got plenty more to break down as the season rolls on. We'll see you back here next week. Hopefully it'll be talking after a Badgers W and on Wisconsin.